Hello and welcome to this video tutorial brought to you by tastytudes.com. In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how you can paint your national flag onto your face in Adobe Photoshop. Now, for this video, we are going to work with this image you see here on the left. As you can see, we have a woman sitting on a transparent background. Now, this composition I prepared in a previous tutorial, in which I demonstrated how to separate an image from a background using a layer mask. If you wish to learn how to separate your image in this way, please stop and watch that video now. The link is in the description. So, we are going to work with this composition on the left and build up to the image you see here on the right. Here we have a character placed on a flag background, and the flag is also painted onto the face. Since we are celebrating the FIFA World Cup 2014 and this is taking place in Brazil, I thought I'd do this tutorial using the Brazilian flag. Now, if you wish to follow along with this tutorial and have a go at this yourself, you can download the free interactive project PDF document. This contains download links to all the flags and PSD templates for each nation that is participating in the FIFA World Cup. This PDF also demonstrates examples of each nation, so I recommend you download this. Okay, so let's get into it. So, if like me, you want to place your portrait on top of a flag background, the first thing we need to do is cut out our face or portrait from the background. Now, I demonstrated how to do this in the previous video. If you want to learn how to do this, I suggest you stop and watch that video first. If you have already seen that video, great. Or if you do not wish to cut out your profile, then simply continue to follow along. Once you have your image with the background carefully masked out, we can begin. So, the challenge we have here in Photoshop is to superimpose a flag onto the face and make it look as convincing as possible. Now, this initially may seem tricky, as we might be dealing with various skin tones. So, how are we going to make the colours accurate? Now, there are going to be a few steps we are going to take to achieve this. The first step is to prepare a foundation on the face, so later, when we superimpose the flag, we can get a nice rich colour effect. So before we bring in the flag to place onto the face, we are going to carry out a preparation stage. This stage involves us creating a white mask on the face first, essentially painting the face white. So here is an example of what I am about to do. Here you can see I have a white mask on the woman's face. Now, following this preparation stage is going to enable you to place your national flag onto a face no matter what skin tone you are working with, dark or light. Creating this mask is going to create the perfect surface for you to place your flag onto later. Okay, so how are we going to create this white mask? So let's come back into the new document and look in the Layers panel. If you're following along from the previous tutorial, you should have your cutout image here in a folder called Person, labelled orange if you're using CS6 or CC. Also, we should see the layer mask which is applied to our cutout image. Now, if you're not following along from the previous video, no problem, just continue to follow along with your single layer. Now, I'm going to come to the woman layer here and click on it so it's selected in the Layers panel. Then I'm going to simply press Command J. This is going to duplicate the layer and you will see a new layer called Woman Copy. With this new layer in the Layers panel, I'm going to click and drag this layer out of the Person Group folder like so. Then I'm going to press Command G and this will group this new layer into its own new folder. I'm then going to double click on the folder and rename the folder to Flag Face. And if you're using CS6 or CC, right click and change the colour to red. Now I'm doing this simply to be organised and to make it stand out visually in the Layers panel there. Next I'm going to select the new Woman Copy layer within this new group and press Command U. This is going to pull up my Hue Saturation menu. When the menu appears, I'm going to click and drag the saturation holder all the way to the left. This is going to desaturate this new layer to black and white. Then I'm going to click OK. Next, I'm going to press Command L. Now this will pull up my Levels menu. Now depending on your skin tone, you're going to need to toggle this until you get the result that's right for you. On this occasion, I'm going to toggle these 3 bars like so. I'm going to drag the far right handle in to around 163, the far left handle in to around 49, and toggle the middle handle to around 1.4. What you want to try and achieve here is a bright white effect on the face while maintaining some of the shadows. So try and push up the white and maintain some of the shadows. So when I'm happy, I'll press OK. So now I have a black and white image on top of my coloured layer below. So the next thing I'm going to do is come over to my Layers panel. I'm going to double click on the name of this layer and call it White Mask. Next, I'm going to carefully click on the red group folder, Flag Face. Make sure the folder is selected and not the layer. It's important here that we have the folder selected and not the single layer. With the folder selected, I'm going to click on the Add Layer Mask button at the bottom of the Layers panel, third from the left. Upon click, we can now see a white icon thumbnail appear to the right of the folder icon in the Layers panel. Now before we do anything else, I'm going to press Command I. This is going to invert the mask, and notice how it changes from black, and now we can see the woman is coloured again. Now this is because the entire folder is now masked away, and we can no longer see the contents inside the folder. For those of you not familiar with masking in Photoshop, whatever is black on the mask layer is hidden, and whatever is white is revealed. So just a second ago, when we created the mask, it was white. Then we pressed Command I to invert it to black, and it all disappeared. Now keep this in mind. Okay, so now we are going to edit this mask applied to the red flag face folder to reveal the black and white image on top of our coloured image. What we are going to do here is mask the woman's face white. We're going to make this woman's face white. So now carefully come to the Layers panel and make sure you have the Mask Layer Thumbnail icon selected on the flag face group. I'm going to press B on the keyboard to activate the brush tool. Then, up in the control panel, I'm going to make sure I have a feathered brush selected in my brush presets picker. I'm going to change the opacity of the brush to around 80%, and I can do this just to the right of my brush presets up here in the control panel. Now I'm going to make sure I have the foreground colour in my menu option set to white. Remember, whatever is white on the mask layer is revealed. I'm going to toggle my brush size accordingly using the keyboard shortcuts. And then I'm going to start to click on the face to reveal the white mask, like so. So by adding white to my black mask layer, we are beginning to reveal the contents of the flag face folder back. So I'm carefully going to bring back the white and click around the eyes. And I may have to toggle the size of my brush down to get into some of the small areas. Okay, so a tip when revealing the white mask around the mouth and edges of the face, what we can do here is toggle the brush size down quite small, like so. What I'm going to do here is press and hold Shift on the keyboard. I'm going to click once for a starting point and then move my mouse along and click once. Notice how a straight line is drawn. I'm going to keep Shift held down on the keyboard and click a little further across to draw another line. And I'm going to proceed around the mouth like so, creating a nice smooth path around the outside. Now this will enable me to toggle the brush size a little bigger and continue to reveal the white mask around the mouth without creating a messy edge around the outside. So again, I'm going to use the same technique around the outside of the face. So I'll toggle my brush size down, press and hold Shift on the keyboard, click once for a starting point, then move the mouse cursor down and click once to draw a straight line. Keeping Shift held down on the keyboard, I'll continue to move around the outside of the face to draw a nice smooth line like so. Now, take your time when doing this. The longer you spend, the neater your end result will be. So I'll continue to reveal the rest of the white mask until I have something that looks like this. So now I have a white mask on top of my woman's face. Excellent. So once we are happy with the white mask, it's time to bring in the flag. Now, for this tutorial, the woman is going to be supporting Brazil. So next, I'm going to come to my PDF, and you can download this in the description. I'm going to come to the Nation selection screen and click on Brazil. Then I'm going to click on the Download Project Folder button. Now, this contains the Brazilian flag, and I'm going to use that here. If you want to use a different nation, simply click on another nation to get your flag. So with the Brazil flag open in Photoshop, I'm going to press Command A to select all. I will press Command C to copy, and then Command W to close the document as I no longer need it open. Back in my new composition, I'm carefully going to come to the Layers panel and click in the Flag Face folder and click on the White Mask layer. With this layer selected, I'm going to press Command V, and the flag will be pasted on top of this layer in the folder. Now look at what's happened. All of a sudden, the flag is on top of the face, on top of the white face mask, perfectly. Now, how is that? Well, that is because we applied the layer mask to the folder and not the individual layer. Applying the mask to the folder will also apply the mask to whatever is contained in the folder, which, in this instance, is very convenient. Next, with this new flag layer pasted on top of the white mask, make sure it's still selected, come to the top of the Layers panel and click the Blending Mode option tab of this layer. From the list, select Multiply, and check that out. Pretty cool, right? So now you can see where we are going with this. So the next challenge is to position the flag on the face. So I'm going to zoom out a little, and with the flag layer still selected, I'm going to press Command T to activate Free Transform. I'm going to click and hold on one of the corner handles and click and drag in like so, holding Shift to scale down nicely. Now I'm going to move my flag over the face until I get a position I'm happy with. So as you can see, on this occasion, my flag is not reaching over all of the face when I scale my flag down this much. We have a blank area here on the chin. So with the flag layer selected, I'm going to come back to the blending mode of this layer and turn it back to normal. I am then going to press I on the keyboard to activate the eyedropper tool. I'm then going to select a green from the flag, then press B to activate the brush tool and colour the area of the flag that is not covering the face like so. On this occasion, I'm then going to select a white and colour out the letters in the flag. This detail would be very difficult to paint onto the face, so I'll just remove it to keep it simple and white here. Then I'm going to come back to the blending mode option and change it back to multiply. Perfect. Now the next challenge is to make this flag look more convincing, like it's actually been painted onto the face. So how are we going to do that? Well, now we are going to use the Smudge tool. We are going to use the Smudge tool to distort the flag image. We are going to use the Smudge tool to smudge the flag around some of the facial features so it looks more convincing. So I'm going to come over to the Tools menu, and just under the Paint Bucket tool we can find the Smudge tool. If you don't see it straight away, we can click and hold here and see a selection of tools, and you should be able to access the Smudge tool here. So make sure you have the Smudge tool selected. Now I'm going to zoom right in, nice and close to the face, so we can begin to focus on some of the details here. With the Smudge tool selected, up in the control panel, I'm going to set the strength to around 50% and just choose a solid brush. To start, I'm going to toggle my brush size down quite small, like so. So the trick here is to study the face and try and smudge the hard lines so they look more natural and organic, like it's actually been painted on and accidentally smudged. I'm going to begin to smudge along some of the crisp lines, and you can begin to see it's having a smudge effect. Keep in mind that less is more with this technique. Smudge too much and it will spoil your outcome and it will look overdone. Just try and smudge quite subtly. Also, study parts of the face and try and smudge the colour in line with that. Go with the flow and try and follow the curves of the face when necessary. For example, I'm going to manipulate the flag on the nose area here and smudge the flag so it curves with the nose so it looks a little more natural and not too perfect. So I'm going to use this technique on the rest of the face. Now, on the Brazil flag, we can see these little stars. I'm going to zoom in here and just slightly smudge these a little to make them look like they have been painted on and smudged a little. And if I zoom out, that's looking pretty cool. Now, the more time you spend on this, the better your outcome will be. So take your time on this part. So once you're happy with the smudge effect, come over to the Layers panel and double click on the flag layer and call this Flag Face Multiply. We will call it this so we can clearly note which blending mode has been applied. Now this multiply layer may be quite dark on your face, so now I'm going to inject some color brightness. So on the Flag Face Multiply layer, I'm going to press Command J to duplicate the layer. Now, all of a sudden, that's going to look really dark, but don't worry. Then I'm going to double click on this layer and change this to Flag Face Overlay. Then I'm going to change the blending mode of this layer to Overlay. I'm going to click and drag the layer under the multiply layer. Then I'm going to toggle the overlay layer down to 20% opacity and change the layer above Flag Face Multiply to around 85%. Now this is really going to blend the flag nicely to get a nice rich effect. We have the overlay layer below creating a nice rich light effect and the multiply layer above creating a dark saturation on top. Now you may wish to toggle the opacities of these layers in your example to get the best outcome for you. Okay, so we are almost there. The penultimate thing I'm going to do here is add some highlights. When wearing face paint, you often get light highlights, as the paint can be wet and reflect the light somewhat. So with the top layer selected, Flag Face Multiply, I'm going to press Command-Shift-N to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer Highlights. Next, I'm going to press B to activate the brush tool. In the brush presets, I'm going to choose a feathered brush. In the control panel, I'm also going to change the opacity to 10%. Then I'm going to set the foreground to white. Then I'm going to toggle my brush size accordingly. And now I'm going to start to click on the face where the light is going to cast highlights. So I'm going to start on the forehead and click a whole bunch of times to get a nice white highlight here. Then perhaps on the cheeks, on the bridge of the nose, and on the nose, and perhaps the chin. Okay, so that's looking a little odd right now. Though if I come to the blending modes and set this new highlights layer to overlay, boom, that's blended in just nicely and creates some nice highlights here. Now, if it looks a little intense to you, just simply come over and toggle the opacity of the layer in the Layers panel. Cool. So to complete your flag face composition and add the final touch, I'm going to come into the Layers panel, select the top group, press and hold Shift and select the bottom group. This is going to select multiple layers in your Layers panel. So now I should have every element in my composition selected. Then I'm going to press Command J and this will duplicate everything. With these new layers selected, I'm going to press Command E, and that is then going to flatten the selected layers into one layer. With this new layer selected, I'm going to come to Filter, scroll down to Other, and select High Pass. And up will pop the High Pass menu. Now, what I am trying to achieve here is a nice little contrast between the highlights and the shadows. Now I'm going to push this up to 6 and press OK. So now we have this weird looking grey layer on the top. So with this layer selected, I'm going to come to my blending mode and simply select Overlay. Now that's added a new level of depth and contrast to my overall effect. And if I think that's looking a little much, I'm simply going to toggle the opacity of this layer in the Layers panel, and I'm going to set mine to around 50%. And that's looking pretty cool. For housekeeping's sake, I'm going to double click on this layer and call this High Pass Overlay, and press Command G to group the layer. I'm going to call this group High Pass, right click and assign a violet color tab. So that's the flag face complete. Now, if like me, you want to put your portrait on top of a national flag, then you will now have to come back to the project folder downloaded from the project PDF. In the folder, you will find a template PSD. In this instance, I'll go ahead and open up the Brazilian template. So each template contains the flag in a blue flag folder in the Layers panel. With our template open, first click on the flag folder. Now it's important to click the flag folder in the Layers panel. Then simply come back into our flag face composition, come to the Layers panel, click on the top high pass folder and press and hold Shift and select the bottom person folder. This will select all the folders in the Layers panel. With all the elements in the Layers panel selected, I'm simply going to click on the canvas area and drag the composition contents into the document tab of the template. When the document switches to the template, simply release into the new canvas area and release to drop in a copy of the layers from the other document into our new document. And you should also see the folders appear in their colors in the Layers panel on top of the flag folder at the bottom. Easy. Now, depending on the size of your previous document, you will now have to press Command T to activate Free Transform and scale up or down to get a nice fit in your template document, like so. Now, in my example, I have this thick white stroke going around my portrait. If you're wondering how I did this, I'm going to come into the Person layer folder and select the Woman layer. Then I'm going to press Command-Shift-N to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer Stroke. And then click and drag it below the Woman layer, like so. So I'm going to zoom out a little. Then I'm going to press B to activate the Brush tool. Up in the Control panel, I'm going to choose a solid brush from the presets. I'm going to double click on the icon to the right and make sure the spacing of this brush is set to 1%. I'm going to make sure the opacity is set to 100% and the foreground color in the menu is set to white. Last, I'm going to toggle my brush size accordingly. My brush size here is about 90. So I'm going to start from the far left and work my way across. I'm going to press and hold Shift on the keyboard and click once, then move my mouse along and click again. This will draw a smooth straight line like so. By keeping Shift held down, I'll move across further and click once again. So I'm going to continue around my profile until I have this quirky stroke around the outside of my profile. Now, you may or may not wish to do this, though I have done this to create more contrast between the figure and the flag background. And that completes the flag face composition. So that is how you can paint your national flag onto your face in Adobe Photoshop. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video tutorial. If you liked the tutorial, hit the like button on my Facebook page. Don't forget, you can download the free PDF file to go with this tutorial and get access to every flag for each team featured in the 2014 World Cup. If you do have a go at this yourself, be sure to post it up on your Twitter with the hashtag #WorldCupFlagFace, and be sure to tweet me at Tastytudes. I'd love to see where you guys are from and who you are supporting. Well, that's it for another video, brought to you by Tastytudes.com. For all of you that will be watching the World Cup, enjoy it and good luck. So have fun guys, and I'll see you next time.